NBC show celebrating Black History Month. The 35-day government shutdown affected a lot of African Americans in disproportionate numbers as they make up a large portion of federal workers. Experts say government jobs have often been a path to middle class for black families. They say the wage gap put black federal workers at an especially bad disadvantage during that shutdown. And of course, there are still fears that the government is going to shut down again in just 2 weeks if the president doesn't get that wall he's talking about. Colette, I'll talk to you. This is a part of sort of people talk about implicit bias, but they don't even realize how much in a situation like this, a government shutdown can affect the African American community in disproportionate numbers.
Right, right. As you said, a federal job is something that's always been sought after. I by no means am the spokesperson for the African American community. However, I recognize the importance. Having been a federal worker myself while working on the Hill, there are tons of African Americans, intelligent, affluent African Americans that are working for the federal government, doing a good job, but that job provides them revenues to take care of their family. Once again, a way to capital earnings, a way to capital wealth, home ownership, investments, and other activities. We've got a tone-deaf commander-in-chief right now who just doesn't care about the working class citizen, especially persons of color. So I am very prayerful that they will come to a long gap resolution and take care of the people that take care of people. TSA workers and other federal workers that are every day taking care of the needs of America.
She brings up a point that you hear a lot, that this current president is insensitive and doesn't care about people of color, whether you think it's fair or not. As a Republican, do you think he gets a bad rap when it comes to how he deals with people of color and their issues?
It's hard to argue with some of the things he said and try to defend this president. I actually take somewhat of a different stance. I've never understood how working class America, be there white, brown, black, whatever, got behind someone who literally goes to the bathroom on a golden toilet. I mean, this is a man who's out of touch with everyone who's not in the top 1%, regardless of color. So I look at it as more being out of touch with everyone, not necessarily color specific. But, you know,
as a man who grew up, you know, a millionaire with wealthy parents and never knew the struggles of most working class people.
I mean, this is a man who thinks the White House is a dump. So, I mean, you're talking about his perspective is a little bit different than 99.99% of America.
You know, getting back to talking about the actual workers, and Colette certainly is right when she talks about it. But one thing that I have found in talking to federal workers is, because you often think, well, if you have a problem, your family will help you. But I continue to hear, well, I have 5 members of my family who are federal workers, and they can't get help because they're all in the same boat. And
some families had 2 parents and both parents.
Right, right. And you know, we're also not talking about the 1 million or so contract workers who work for the federal government, and they're not getting back pay. So and probably the majority of them are African Americans.
And also, let's not forget, because I am a person in 2006 when I had my son, I didn't have insurance. So I had food stamps and I had WIC. So although those days are far behind for me, they are front and center for many low-income whites, blacks, Hispanics, African Americans. They need those food services. They need those federal services to nourish themselves. Prenatal care, you know, ensuring that you eat correctly as your baby is in your belly. So this has far-reaching ramifications for African American and low-income families when you're talking about holding the government, the county, the country hostage because you want some wall built.
And you had Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, you know, say he didn't quite understand why some of these folks were going to food pantries. It didn't make any sense to him. Which
is why I take this as less about racism and more about just being out of touch with common America.
But sometimes that equates to racism.
No, I certainly understand that.
You got to call a spade a spade.
Yes.
Sometimes that equates to racism. Implicit bias, however you wish to,
Fair enough.
dress it up. It is what it is.
Fair enough, yeah.
Right, more Flashpoint after this.